Certainly good afternoon to everybody, and again, just appreciate the work you do covering the team, and you guys all worked overtime Saturday, probably the longest game any of us were involved in, so appreciate that. It feels like we're just together here, but just a couple words about last week. It was, certainly good to see our guys get off to a good start and get back up off the mat after a tough week the week before, so happy about that. I think two other positives. Guys did a good job refocusing, which I credit our leaders on that one. Just during some unusual delays, and the other thing too, just occurred to me. Really, it's the first time we've really been able to work in the rain. It seems like every time it rained in the preseason, it came with thunder and lightning, so we got chased indoors. So really didn't get to work with a wet ball an extensive period, and did that certainly the other night, and came out of it okay that way. So. Certainly some positives. I thought we had a little rhythm in that first half offensively, a little tougher in the second, part of the game when we had a couple delays. But part of that was the run game, got going a little bit and did some good things there. Good to get Nico back, certainly, and a couple of young guys getting involved with Keegan Johnson not Keegan Johnson, but Caleb Johnson, and then also, Brody Brecht getting him started a little bit, so that was good. And defensively, good to get the shutout, and good to see some younger guys step in there and actually, do a decent job. And then special teams, thought the punting game was obviously a factor, and our punt return saw some positives there. But then on the flip side, Drew Stevens also was a plus there. On the flip side, we had two penalties in the kicking game, and that's always costly, and it was not what we're looking for in that regard. So that hurt, and our kickoff coverage was not good, especially on the one we let the ball out there, and that was kind of disappointing to see that as well. So a lot of good things, but like always shows on Sunday, a lot of things that we can work on, and that's kind of where our attention's been. Also, obviously facing Rutgers coming up here. So shifting gears, captains will be the same four guys this week. We got Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, Kayvon Merriweather, and Riley Moss. They'll represent the team as captains. It's our first Big Ten game, needless to say, so that's important. First road game, and then another night game. So, all those three things factored in. It's a little bit different here, and then playing a team that's off to a really good start. Rutgers is playing well with a 3-0 record right now, and they're playing well, so they certainly have our full attention. I've known Coach Shannon probably 25 years, 24 years, something like that, over 2 decades, and have been very familiar with his career, for quite a while. And one thing about him, he's a tremendous football coach, outstanding person, and has done a really good job in a short amount of time there. So anything from the last time we played them, it's a whole different ball game right now. And if you look at Coach Shannon's track record, he really built that program up in the early part of this century here, the first decade here, 2001 to 2011, really gave Rutgers an identity, did an outstanding job with the program, and you can see him laying the foundation for that right now, at least from our vantage point. They've got a really good coaching staff. They're cohesive based on what we're seeing on film. Like, they definitely have an identity and know what they're trying to get accomplished, and then more importantly, you can see their players really embracing what it is they're doing, and I think they've certainly worked hard to improve their roster. So we're back in Big Ten play. The guys we're playing are bigger, they're more athletic, and certainly Rutgers has a lot of guys that can cause problems. So and then needless to say, they've got an outstanding punter also, and we got to look at him. Whatever year that was, they came over here. Just a tremendous football player and receiver, kick return guy. It's a really big, explosive player as well. So good football team. We've got our work cut out, and we're working on that right now. And then last thing, just real quick, tip of the hat to our kid captain, Anju Lee Saho, and she's a 6-year-old from Atkins, Iowa, and obviously won't be traveling with us, but appreciate her. She'll be with us in spirit and hopefully cheering us on. So, shifting our attention to Rutgers, and I'll throw it out for questions.
What's the latest on Keegan Johnson? Saw him in action, but then didn't see him on the depth chart.
Yeah, he pulled out somewhere, in the mid-30s the other night, and I can't even tell you what point of the game that was. It was like 34th, 5th play, but it's an nagging injury, and there's really nothing to say right now. We'll take it day at a time.
So is he available for Saturday?
I don't think so. He hasn't practiced yet this week, so we'll see. It's just day to day.
When you look at, as you mentioned, Greg Schiano's record, toughness, physicality seems to be traits and hallmarks of his program, kind of like yours. Is that something that you illustrate to your team, or is it something that they just discover on their own on tape?
Yeah, they see it as soon as we start turning our attention to our opponent, which was yesterday. And, just you watch film on them. I don't want to say they're the same as us, but there's a lot of parallels, I think, in terms of they've got a system defensively and offensively they believe in. And it's, they got big physical guys that are athletic and play hard. And they don't do dumb things. They make you earn anything you get, and that's what good teams do. And that's why he's been successful for, quite a while. And, to me, it was a very logical pick when they selected him to come back. And fortunately for them, he was interested and available because he knows the state, he's from the state, but he also is an excellent football coach, and he's got a staff that looks, just an outsider looking, it looks like they're all on the same page.
Brody Brecht had extensive action, obviously the first of his career. I know there was some misses there, but also did you see some good things, and kind of what kind of growth do you see possible, which it sounds like
first good thing, not to oversimplify it, he was out there playing and competing, so that was good, and I thought he worked really hard. And there's some things there, just like a lot of our players, I think, that are young. They got an opportunity to really grow here, not only this week but the next couple of weeks, if we can keep them on the field and keep them practicing and getting better. And he made a catch today in practice. It was kind of like one that he missed. I don't want to say missed, but missed out on the other day. And to me, that's just the experience. I mean, he's really been in our program probably all of about 6-7 weeks. I haven't kept day-by-day track, but I'm guesstimating maybe 6-7 weeks on the practice field. And that's not enough to really play at a high level for most players. And he's got a great attitude, good ability, and we're really excited to have him back.
Coach, you're a 33rd Big Ten opener of your career, counting your assistant days. When you came here from Pittsburgh, what was your impression of the Big Ten? Do you remember, and how has that changed?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean that laughing in a disrespectful way. I just, Pittsburghers are kind of provincial in their thinking. And, the only thing I knew about the Big Ten was Ohio State and Michigan. And quite frankly, I wasn't all that interested in that game. And I can't tell you why. But, just kind of small world thinker, I guess. Maybe I haven't changed a lot in however many years that's been now. But, I didn't really, the Big Ten didn't mean much to me. It was more about Pitt, Penn State, West Virginia, back in those days. It was really Pitt and Penn State, quite frankly. By the time I got out of high school until I was at Pitt, those were the two teams in the East. So this was all new to me, and it was a blur too. I don't mind telling you.
So when you were here and you beat Ohio State and Michigan, it mean a little more than what you did?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I figured it out real quick. A lot of things I figured out real fast, most of them by bad experiences. Iowa State we lost to. Minnesota lost a trophy game there. So those are some memories that kind of stick with you. But, yeah, I figured it out real quick that being in a conference, which Pitt was not, I think there's a huge advantage to being in conference play. It makes everything so much more different. It's just more intense, I guess. So, yeah, you figure it out real quickly.
When you look at the passing game the other day, I mean, Spencer looked like he was throwing the ball with a lot of confidence, and the receivers looked like they were still a little rusty, I guess, and maybe the way they were attacking the ball versus what they'll probably do in 5 weeks from now or something like that. How does that chemistry grow, and is it just day by day? Can you see the improvements, I guess?
Yeah, you hope to, and we feel like we are. We felt like we saw some of that last week, but it's, it sounds so basic, but it's so true. Guys have to be on the field, and they've got to be working together, and it's probably true in every sport. I don't know many other sports, but we're not independent contractors in football. You got to be out there getting the timing down, getting the work done, and from my experience, that's the only way you really improve. And certainly, if you're talking about a passing game where there are a lot of variables and key components involved. Not that I'm not a fan of 7-on-7, but I'm not. I mean, it bores me to watch it, and it's not real football because there's so many other things that happen when you have pressure on a quarterback, those types of things. So, that's how you learn how to play. And the biggest thing last week was having some other bodies out on the field helping, just supplementing what we already had. And I think if we can just keep that going in that direction, that trend, that's going to help guys like Arlen Bruce, who's been, shouldering a big load, and Sam Laporta. Those guys will, I think, be better players when we get a little bit more support around them, a little bit more experience. And certainly, help Spencer too.
obviously not very often that you end a game at 1:39 a.m. How do you adjust in terms of the week? I heard that you pushed back team meetings on Sunday, especially at the first road trip of the year.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably have to do the same thing next Sunday too, because of that's a debate how far to do it. But you just adjust as the circumstances present themselves, and it seemed like the logical thing to do on Sunday, and then you make up for it during the course of the week. We try to get caught up, and I think we're pretty much where we need to be right now. But yesterday we were a little bit behind. Not to complicate it, when we switch our schedule back in 15, it makes it a little bit more. It's a little tougher, because you got to have things Monday morning instead of Tuesday afternoon. But you find a way. That's all. Find a way.
What's it like getting a team prepared to go to a hostile environment to win a football game?
It's a challenge, but that's going back to the conference. When you're in a conference, I think that's just typically part of the weekly routine. Or, you can't be good in your conference if you don't win on the road. That's first and foremost. That's true with non-league or in-league, because you're going to play on the road, typically close to half your games. And then, in conference play, you can expect it to be a good environment. And I think we're going to walk into one this week, certainly. I know they had a bunch of people go over to Philly last week to watch their game against Temple, and we expect the place to be packed and be loud. And, I'm old enough to remember the big game, Rutgers, Louisville. I think it was on a Thursday night. I remember watching that game, and it was two really good football teams, and it was somebody watching from Iowa City. It was a great football environment. You could tell that. And, we have to be prepared for that. So, it's just going to really test our ability to concentrate. And the more younger guys you have out there, the more that's a challenge, I think.
Challenge going up or preparing for maybe three different quarterbacks. They've started three different quarterbacks. What's the challenge there?
Yeah, you're just never quite sure what you're going to get. And I don't think, sounds like they're not sure either. So, I guess there's good news. We've seen all three quarterbacks on film, so we've got that ability to at least know what to expect a little bit. But you just never know. So we'll just have to try to be ready and adjust as we go.
Personnel-wise, Noah Shannon played only a couple snaps the other day. Is he available this week? What's his status?
Hoping he is. Yeah, we'll see. We're hoping by middle of the week here he'll be ready to go. But we got like a lot of teams. You got guys that are out, and you got other guys that are nursing injuries and just trying to play through it. And had a fair amount of guys miss yesterday, and maybe a little less today. But that's one of the frustrating. I was just in there thinking, I was putting on my tie. Just you'd think it, as you get older, you would handle the things a little bit better. But I'm not sure I do. You want everything to be perfect, and it's an imperfect game. And then when you factor injuries in, that makes it a little bit less perfect, even more. So that's probably terrible grammar, but anyway, you know what I'm saying. It's just it's hard. Yeah, it's just hard. It's a challenge.
There's a picture of Brian Ray, a great picture during the first delay in the locker room. All the offensive linemen still had their helmets on, and Coach Barnett had a chalkboard. Is that kind of a situation? No idle time. We got to learn on the fly here.
Yeah, I mean that group's a little young, so yeah, there's a lot going on there. So yeah, it was a chance maybe for an extra session, but it's funny we were talking about how long the delays were. So you just kind of. But it's really strange. It was really a strange thing. There's a reason, I guess, we have a clock on at halftime, and glad of it. But 20 minutes seems like an eternity sometimes. And then, it was just a weird deal. But if you can steal a couple minutes and learn something, that's a good deal.
How do you evaluate the offensive line here through 3 weeks?
I think we're gaining ground, but we're not there. I mean, there's still a lot of little things that we can do a lot better, and that's, again, gets back to experience. And alluded to it last week that we had some, guys that have been playing a lot that have missed a lot of significant time, and that's one, that isn't my background. It's really hard. It's hard for players that are veteran guys to miss time. So when you get guys that are a little bit younger in their development, it's a little bit of a strain. So I think we're chasing the clock there. I think we're gaining ground. We made up the last 2 weeks. I think we've gained ground, but there's still a lot of loose ends that we can get tied up, and that's a challenge for our guys. If we can just keep closing the gap, I'm encouraged because I think there's potential to be pretty good, but we're not there yet.
Do you have a routine for what you tell the guys, especially the younger guys, first time doing a trip on a plane, first road trip in general, first time in an opposing Big Ten environment? Yeah,
definitely, and it's really pretty simple. and it's whether it's home or away, because we leave on Friday regardless. We leave campus, so you want them to relax. You want them to be at ease. You don't want them to be playing the game, especially the night game. You don't want to play the game during the day, but also they have to understand and find a way in their own, how whatever works for them, how to stay focused on what they're trying to get done, and keep the big picture in mind. So everybody's got a little different way of doing things, and just historically for me, as the week goes on, I tend to try to give the players more space, and keep my, utter my syllables a little bit less, and just, let them kind of do the work. But, that mature guys understand a little bit better how to do things, and they maybe understand hostile environments a little bit better. There's only one way to learn. It's like swimming. You got to get in the water and go. So some of those guys will be figuring it out on Saturday, and hopefully the older guys, just like the other night, I think the older guys, just help keep things steady, even though it was kind of a crazy situation you can't prepare for.
You've got 4 guys on your team from Xavier High School in Cedar Rapids. Is there a commonality of players who come out of that school?
Yeah, I've always believed in recruiting. It never hurts. It's not a deal breaker if a guy comes from a place where, so I'm standing here thinking about Bill Moss, who you may or may not remember was recruited by Syracuse, and Syracuse had a really bad program back in 1978, 79. They weren't very good, and all due respect to them. But it was Pitt and Syracuse, and Pitt was a little bit better program. He went to Syracuse, and I don't think his team won a high school game. Probably why he wasn't recruited back before the internet and all that stuff. But Bill he knew how to play football. He was awesome. He was on the scout team in '80. But where I'm going on this thing, to me, if players coming from programs where they expect to win and they're used to winning, it's always a benefit. It's not a deal breaker if a guy doesn't. But to me, they operate. They understand that most winning programs, there is a standard in the program already, so they understand that you're trying to achieve, and there is a right way to do things and maybe a not so right way to do things, and they know the difference. So sometimes can save a little time.
Kirk, I have a 2-part question. One is Sean Williams back in the mix now.
Yeah, he is. He's full speed and doing great, and just tough week.
As far as Caleb Johnson goes, I remember when Tyler Goodson got here his freshman year, you kind of slowly built him up to more and more opportunity. Is that something maybe you could see with Caleb, just given his performance last Saturday, maybe continuing to kind of ease him into more opportunity?
Yeah, no question. If you earn it, you're going to get it, and he certainly has earned it. He's done a really good job, and part of it was circumstances past weekend. Really, for the first 3 games, we've been a little shorthanded at that position, but during that time, and this is how it works too, is that if you earn the right to be considered for playing time, and he's certainly I think just done a really nice job since we got started back in August. He's improved every week, and he wasn't perfect the other night, but he looked more comfortable and looked more like the kind of player you hope he's going to be. But players have to. It's a road to get there, because he didn't look that way 4 weeks ago. So I think he's earned our confidence and is earning more and more from everybody as we go. And so it's if you do that, you get a chance to play, and that's a good thing certainly. And it was great to see him look like he did, because we've seen him look like that occasionally in August, and it's good. And hopefully there's some consistency there with him. Great young guy.
I apologize.
Yep.
Has the wet ball impacted the snap the last couple of games? It seems like there are a few plays where it takes like almost a double clutch for Spencer to get the ball, and the rhythm's kind of thrown off on the last
I don't know if I'd attribute to that, no. So we've had some glitches in the first 3 games without that being a factor, I think, and that's just, I think, newness of the, it's not a veteran battery, if you will. So a little bit of newness there. Hopefully we're working through that.
Is there a chance Tyler Ellsbury would be your starting left guard? I guess
Yeah, there's a chance for anything. Hell yeah. He's in the discussion. We're not. Yeah, definitely. He's in the discussion. He's both center and guard right now. Yeah, so it's open competition right now. I think a couple guys are pulling away a little bit, but it's open competition. We're just trying to get that right mix in there. Yeah.
Was he like shuffled back like at the back of camp? Because we saw on Kids Day he was a starter, and then all of a sudden.
Yeah, but we're always, like, every day is a little different, I guess. Some things have been pretty consistent. Richmond's pretty much, if he's been healthy, left tackle. And, we've been using a lot of different combinations. We're like you guys. We're trying to find the right combo. Yep.
How have you seen Logan Lee grow as a leader?
Oh, I mean, it's two-part. I mean, he came here like a 30-year-old, and he's still that way. I mean, he's mature beyond his years. He's just one of those guys. But he's also growing now as a football player, and he, talking about injuries, he really went through his share of them early in his career. His effort has always been outstanding, but the injuries that take him off the field where he couldn't play football, practice football, it just, you can't grow and develop. It doesn't. For some guys, things just happen real quickly, but it's through repetition. And I think that impeded his progress, slowed it down, but he's starting to catch on now. And, it really started last year. I thought he started to do that climb. He's got a great attitude, great skill. I mean, everything about him you love. And, now he's starting to play at a little better tempo and speed. So, and then so what my point there is, like, he's a respected player, and then also he's a tremendous human being, and I think guys look to him. And the biggest thing is he just gives great effort. He's been doing that since he's gotten here, whether it's out of season program or football.
It appears the rule regarding cut blocking, a lot of the ambiguity was taken off. I know it's a sore spot for you. It's very, but it's very narrow now. How difficult or challenging or is it, I guess, when you run an outside slant to incorporate that, and what's the timing that has to take place?
So if you hang around, a couple observations. If you hang around by next year or the year after, there won't be any cut blocking. It's a movement right now. I promise you, it's a movement. So that's where this thing's going. Unfortunately, it's really critical. I was going to say I've seen 2 of them on film now, and part of the problem with the rule is hard, I think, to officiate the way it is right now. Wagner got called for a chop block. It's I can't just, it'd take me 5 minutes to describe it. I don't blame the official because of the way the rule is, but he didn't see the whole thing. It was a bad call, but because it just the rule screwed it up, and it's a whole different discussion. Then I saw one a week ago against Nevada's opponent, got called for one. And then interestingly enough, I was watching a highlight last night maybe or something like that, I don't know, but I saw a guy do something in a pro game that I didn't think you could do. So anyway, and it didn't get called, and they call everything in the pros. But yeah, what the hell is the question? So anyway, it's hard to run slants. It's a movement to again eliminate the run game because everybody wants to see passes. That's my theory.
Well, when you look at what your backside blocking has to do on that particular play, a lot of times your tackle's trying to go for the the 3 technique, and how do you make that work without getting called?
Well, I'm getting ready to get in a rules discussion. What other stupid thing just happened that made me think of something? But anyway, you still can do that. That's the only thing left, and that makes sense, except the tight end can't do it coming to the inside, which is stupid because the box is the box. Like, it's really a geographical area, and they could make it so simple and so clean by just saying that. But that would take common sense, and common sense ain't so common anymore. And then the other thing, I fully, I mean, now we're totally on a tangent here. Basically, on defense, you can just turn and run, and I don't think that's playing defense. Like, guys that can't play blocks, low blocks, can't play defense, in my opinion. Like, they should be playing something else. They can't play defense. Or you teach them how to play a low block, which used to be part of coaching football. But so anyway, yeah, I'm really on a tangent. And I'd love to see the data that they, keep pointing to.
On the flip side,
This has nothing to do with Rutgers, so now we're really off the rails. It's bad.
well, there was a prominent player he was from Oregon, plays for the Giants. He got hurt in training camp.
I didn't see the play.
And it looked like just a normal cut block, but he didn't defend it like you guys would roll those balls to your defenders to kind of get sprawl out or whatever and defend themselves. On the defensive side now, do you even prepare your players to engage in cut?
We still do a little bit, and really the only guys that can get cut are the guys on the interior by rule now. So, they should a little bit. Nobody on the outside can do it, which is unfortunate because, I don't know how the service academies are even playing. Those teams that, do a great job on the perimeter. But, and one of my mentors growing up was a really prominent defensive coach. And that was the first test they did. If the guys couldn't play cut blocks, they threw them over on the other side. Like, they couldn't play defense, and they were down to like 13 guys. This is when he went to a different university. But, the game's changed. So, roll with the flow.
Coach, in your 20
Throw the ball. That's right. Yeah.
In
your 24 years of doing this, I mean, have you ever seen a punter quite as successful as Torrey Taylor up to this point?
Yeah, I'm cheating because I was here when Roby was here. I got to be here for 2 years of Reggie Roby, and I'm not comparing one to the other, but boy, yeah, I'll compare them both. And they're out. They were guys you noticed, and Reggie was a great punter, great guy, and I think probably could have been all Big Ten several positions because he was that kind of athlete. In all fairness to Torrey, like he grew up playing football, basketball. He was just a multi-sport athlete and a great human being. Torrey, grew up kicking balls, off the turf apparently because we saw him do that, and that's what he does, and he's really good at it too. And but the big takeaway is it's a real impactful thing, and this game's a great example. You've got two punters that can really alter the game, and we spent a lot of time trying to come out of the end zone. I know that last time we played against this punter, so that's one more thing that's on the list, and that really impacts the game. I mean, it's huge if you can master that down, and it takes a good punt, but it also takes good guys on the coverage unit doing a nice job.
Justin.
Rutgers offense, they've had a quarterback carousel, but one thing they have been able to do effectively is run the ball. What sticks out to you about how they've been able to be so effective in the first few games?
Yeah, I mentioned Coach Shannon doing a great job building that program. They clearly had a plan, and they've brought some new bodies in on the offense that up front. They're veteran up there. They got big guys and they're good, and so they just outsider looking at it, looks like they had a plan of building that thing. So they've done a good job with their line, good tight ends, and they've got a couple backs that can run the ball very effectively, actually 3 of them. So, it's something they do and they're going to do, and, we're going to have to stop that to have a chance.
How excited does LeVar seem when it's a special teams battle like this?
Well, that's the way we play. That's always big. So it's a really critical thing, and he's done a great job, coordinating all the groups, and it's been a plus for us. Like I said, the only biggest negative the other night were the 2 penalties, and they hurt you. It's like walking a guy in the 9th inning in baseball. Typically bites you, and those were disappointing. And I think on the kick coverage, I don't know if we just were assuming it wasn't coming up because they didn't seem interested in bringing it back, or when he dropped the ball. But somehow we didn't look very good, and that ball came out pretty quick, and that we can't have that either because, again, you're talking about field position.
A couple of players, just kind of housekeeping. Is Jacobs available? Diaz-Fernandez, I don't think I saw him the other day. And then somebody I haven't seen all year is Josh Volk. Where do they kind of stand with those 3?
So first 2 guys have a shot, I think, to be back. We'll see. Diaz-Fernandez, I think, he practiced today, and we're hoping Justin does tomorrow. It's been, again, it's soft tissue, so it's hard to predict. And then Volk's been in and out, but we'll see, see where he's at. He's not in the 2 deep right now, though.
Right.
So, you won't see him this weekend.
I just,
Yep.
he'd been in there before, like last year, a couple
Yep.
of times,
Yep.
so
Yep.
just
Right.
kind of curious.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, see you guys.
Yep.